Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial, and we are back after another super exciting day in the market, and tomorrow we begin in earnest. We have the beautiful earnings season. So actually, before I dive into Wells Fargo, I do want to highlight that Pepsi actually announced earnings today, and this is a stock that again is not really going to be a market mover, but I want to highlight they actually had an earnings beat, which was not what anyone was anticipating. Again, it was pretty healthy in terms of how much they beat that by. And they showed increased revenue as well. Stock exploded higher in pre-market trading, but even opened up nearly 2% higher. And again, they sold off with the broader market today. So the big news on the market today is two things. One, that you're seeing on a lot of the articles and such right now, is that California in particular is rolling back their reopening approach. So they are closing down bars and restaurants for indoor eating. And I think that we're going to continue to see some of those rollbacks as cases continue to explode. Again, the overall market is going to continue to be positive as long as deaths don't skyrocket. But again, we have seen that the deaths are delayed. So even if the deaths or the death rate continues to be lower on an overall case basis, just by virtue of having more cases, we may see deaths continue to rise. So we're going to be watching that. As you can see, the market seems to be taking this consolidation pretty well, even in after hours, jumping up nearly a quarter of a point. So we're going to be watching that. The big move that I did make here is as soon as California announced it was rolling back, you can see that I got a put, and right now we are holding at 190% return. So this is good. But however, I do want to acknowledge that overall we're not that great on the day. Had a fantastic open, up nearly 42%, and then just through a series of holding too long throughout the day, it caught up with me, as well as I had a big Tesla blunder here, although this can skyrocket the portfolio depending on what Tesla opens at tomorrow. This is a big mover in overnight trading. This is a stock that can move as much as $100 in overnight trading, which I personally have never seen that happen before. So this is Tesla today. Again, they opened up just crazy. They even, again, went up over 1750. And again, I think that we're going to see this come back into play by the end of the week, just because they're such a big mover that their options can have a very, very hefty premium. But that is not what you are here for. These are not the plays you're looking at. We are looking at what are the options for tomorrow. Again, these are plays that are going to be a little bit too late to get into, but we are going to be watching some of the big banks enter the option or the earnings season tomorrow, with JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo being the big ones to look at. So JP Morgan and Citigroup are, in my opinion, going to be okay. The thing that we're watching for all of these is interest income going to stay consistent and stay positive. The reason for that is because interest rates have dropped, and they saw elements of that in Q1. I think it's going to be hitting the books pretty hard in Q2, particularly with the amount of refinancing that institutions are looking to do. The one to watch, Wells Fargo, they're going to announce their actual dividend cut. And the big thing for everyone is loan loss reserves. How much money do banks anticipate losing? So with that being the case, I did buy a put that expires at the end of this week, and I got it close to the money. The reason for that is because banks aren't always big movers, but if this goes down anywhere below 25, you can see I've already picked up a 20% return here, then I'll be good to go. I'm not looking for a 1,000% return on this investment. I will probably pull it tomorrow at the initial market open pop, just to see where they end up. Again, it really depends on what earnings look like. Again, in particular, loan loss reserves and interest income. One of the reasons I really like Wells Fargo for my put play is they've already kind of been under the gun. They have an asset cap put in place by the Federal Reserve, as well as they do not have as large of a trading presence as someone like a Bank of America or JP Morgan does, which I think that they can hold on to that run up. Speaking of JP Morgan, I did make a trade there. Last week you saw that I purchased some calls. Today I did sell out of those calls. So you can see here that I purchased that one for 54. It actually did get up. I think at one point today it was up to 78. But when the market was dropping down, I sold off as well, just because there's a lot of uncertainty with the banks tomorrow. So I didn't want to hold on to those going in. And I did. So I played the banks. What I did not play that I think is going to be important, I did take a look at the airlines because Delta is going to announce earnings tomorrow. I do not think it's going to be a pretty one, but it's going to be a matter of how bad is it going to get, and in particular, what is the future guidance going to look like? What is the cash burn? What is the layoffs? So I actually looked at options prices for AAL. I think this is going to be a continuation play. Whatever we see the market open at, I'm probably going to be making a play, if not on Delta, then on American Airlines, because again, a sympathy play, even though American isn't going to announce earnings until later. So yeah, July 23rd. So we'll see that move next week, but right now it's just not ready. So again, but the good news is options are relatively cheap, but we're going to see that continuation tomorrow, and I'm probably going to get some time on that as well. So that's the one to watch. So those are some of the ones that are announcing earnings tomorrow. However, I also want to recognize that there's still going to be some bigger banks playing later this week. I don't know if I'm going to follow them just because, again, they're kind of going to be similar sympathy plays to the other big banks, but we're going to be setting those up for tomorrow. However, the one that's kind of not really in our world or in the realm of financial literature is we are going to be looking at UNH, who announces on Wednesday. I'd like to see this tomorrow just because, as you can see, they've already broke 300, and I think that 300 is another possibility, particularly on a good earnings report. So that, however, the options are relatively expensive. You can see here, this is not a small move. We're looking at a 2% move by the end of the week for that 300. So even if they do get up to 303, which is where they were earlier this week, then we're still not going to have enough to even break even. So what we're looking at is maybe something a little bit longer term, just based off these earnings. Again, we are in an interesting place with them because, again, we're back to all-time highs, and I believe this did break all-time highs. So we're back in that realm, and I don't know if this is something that I want to be making a play on in terms of it's very expensive and there's a lot of volatility built in because it is earnings. I think that if we let some of that die away, I still have the potential to make a play on United Health. So those are some of the earnings that I'm going to be watching for the beginning of this week. Keep in mind that this entire week is going to be banks, and then we start rolling into tech next week. So make sure that you have some cash on hand to be able to make those plays. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see what happens throughout the day tomorrow. Again, I'm looking for Tesla to bounce, and I'm looking for Wells Fargo to go down. So those are the plays for the week. That's what I'm looking at. If you want to take a look at the options for these are all, again, on the right side of my screen, you see the options that I have. In the center of my screen, you see some of the stocks that I am actively tracking. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment below. And if you have plays that you are making, drop those in the comment below. And as always, if you found this content helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later.